Hello, this is Peter Smith, and I am doing a commentary audio over the Haunted Castle Remains video. I say remains because you can see there's clearly little left. Now, for reference points, those air conditioner compressors, the ones you see that are on the concrete slabs, are the rear of the structure. That was not to be... These weren't seen by the general public. Now, the space here, you'll see, and those stairs that go up, that's the control room. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 trailers in the back, and there's also 4 trailers in the front of them, but a lot of them are destroyed. And this video doesn't, it's not in exact chronological order of how the events were filmed. I didn't make this film, obviously. I'm a better cameraman than this, although I'm not much of a voiceover man. But here, look, you see that wood? That's right placed over the phantom fence. Those of you who've watched my research over the years will know. And you can clearly see the fence is right there. That's the red side phantom. This is the area of the worst damage. And as they... Alright, see, I told you it switches around. Now you're looking at the front. Now if you notice, that wood is part of the front facade. It used to be a castle. Now the reason that it held up so well is because the haunted castle in front was treated with a fire-resistant thing. You can even see some of the skull of the exit, of the one side exit over there. But that was treated, so that's why that held up fairly good, but the trailers were decimated. Now, where they're panning into right now is, well, this is the entrance where they would, this is portrait, that, where you first go in. And then that's the control room, and this is where you'd first walk into the maze. Now, surprisingly, that held up pretty well. That wood that was fireproof, that held up actually pretty good. See the lockers? That's the control room. Now, as it pans out, you're going to see, I've watched this video over 100 times, right there, that metal trailer that's all crunched up, that's where the bodies were found, right in the corner there. And they placed that plywood on the floor there where it is, down a little bit further, sort of out of the camera's angle, but it was the easy way to get from there to the back steps. You see the way the plywood's laid? It goes from the death area to the door that was there, but the door itself is decimated. Now in the back of the castle, now, alright, I'm getting ahead of myself, but you look here, there's holes there, and that's the point of origin. See how much better this held up? This side held up beautifully. Well, not beautifully, but a lot better than the other side. Because the fire spread to here. It started on the other side. They are mirror images of each other. So, what's on one side is on the reverse of the other. So in the center, they were called the Strobe rooms. You see how the door is intact in the back? There's a reason for it, and I'll explain. I always wondered about this piece of wood that is sitting here, or whatever that is. Was that some kind of an exit door that was once there? I couldn't say. I don't even know if there was a fan over it, but that's the point of origin right there. Not the second one, the first one we panned over. And the rear door here, once again, in good shape. Reason is because these areas were the caves of the haunted castle. And they were made with chicken wire with plaster painted. And that held up to flame spread very well. Much better than the plywood that was on the walls. Now, I'm sorry to be skipping around, but once again, another angle shot of where the bodies were found. 7 were found in the trailer where that light is, and 1 was found in the next one. So, and then what you're looking at now is the blue side of the haunted castle, the unused side that night. And then what would happen is that these exit stairs in the back, there was actually a hole cut in the wall, and there was like a piece of plywood door, so you'd walk out into a little space, have to turn, and then you went on those stairs. Now here we are, more of the front. You can see more of the control room, and a better illustration of the... Oh, here we go. It skips around, and it's not my fault, and I'm sorry for viewers at home. I didn't make this video. I'm just commenting on it. Now, once again, point of origin. See, there's almost total decimation there. That's because there's nothing left. So that always struck me pretty funny, because someone would say, oh, they thought the bodies were mannequins. Well, as you can clearly see, there's nothing left except for embers, and all the mannequins in the haunted castle were behind glass, and they were rubber plexiglass and rubber. Nothing made it. Nobody thought it was any mannequins. That's the most ridiculous story I've ever heard. From what I heard, the stench was unbelievable because burning bodies give off a distinctive odor, and also they had jewelry on and clothes and things that weren't burned because they were in a pile. So the people on the bottom of the pile were more insulated than the others, so they had more. It was clear to see that they were not, and I've seen the pictures, mannequins. So there we go. So here's the blue side. Now there's a fan on top of their strobe room in the blue side, and that begs the question for me: was there a fan on the red side's strobe room? I cannot specifically, one way or the other, say yes or no. I just don't know. Now let's see. What else? Here we go. They're panning the whole castle. Now, the guys who are filming this are trying to make organization out of chaos. Here they are. They're shooting down onto the area where the bodies were found. This is right up in that corner there, in the edge of the screen. 8 were found, and then 1 was in the next one. That's where Suzette was pulled out from. Somebody ran in the one trailer, grabbed her, and pulled her out. Another victim, was behind her a few feet, but he didn't get saved like she did. And you can see clearly when it pans over the whole thing. Oh wait, here you go. Again, it switches around. The reason these are in such good shape as compared to the neighbor is because the way of their walls. The chicken wire and all that, and it felt like stone. That held up very good. The guy, John Bouchard, who wrote the National Fire Protection Association report about this incident, he clearly specifies that. Well, I talked to him personally. He said that if the whole place was made out of that material, we wouldn't be talking right now. Now, this is the steps up to the control room. Now, it's interesting. You couldn't get into the control room from here. You could only get out. Right, and this is the red side, and this is where those plywood boards were laid up, is the area where the bodies were. They're probably zooming in on it. And you see those wheels there? That's the turn barrel. And right next to that was a grouping of windows with hollowed out. Oh, here's another example. You can see this is the roll barrel, and you see where the opening is. There used to be windows there with chain link fencing over them and plexiglass, and you could see the barrel spinning. Now, it's been argued one way and the other if this was a potential means of egress or whatever, but egress means exit for those of you who don't know. But anyway, I really like this video. Interesting to hear airplanes. You can hear people screaming from the other rides. And it's not in any sort of time sequence that I'm aware of. This one must have been fairly early, this part, because you can still see the smoking rubble. I think they just took a lot of videotape and just compressed them all into one 17, I think, minute video that's here. But this one, the rubble is still smoldering. And it's the next morning, I suppose. And all that really survived is metal. And you could see they used lots of fencing in here. There's the phantom fence, I believe, from the back. No. That's blue side's phantom. Like I said, what's on one side is on the other. That's blue strobe. The other side's strobe. The other side had a phantom fence, too. Everything that's on one side's on the other. Here's the electric box, the control room, their chairs, the one fire extinguisher they probably had in the place. Didn't do very much good, as you can obviously see. Looks untouched. But this part always confounds me exactly where they are. And oh, no. You can see that man. He's walking into... This is where that door would be. The mysterious missing door. It just burned away. Burned to cinders. Fell to the ground. But you can see the man going up those stairs, walking over the plywood planks towards this area. Now, this is going... Wait, hang on a second. This is the strobe room, looking down. Hear what they're saying? I find this very interesting. Phantom fence again. So anyway, now they're sort of like panning back to the strobe room. The end of that hallway. Okay, this is the trailer where everybody died. where 7 of them died, still smoking. Right at the end, where the light is shining through, that's where they were found. And where this plywood is where those windows were. And the plywood makes a grouping, and it goes down past Phantom, which is right there, and there's the Phantom fence, and the plywood is laid right over it, right to the door, because all the partitions were made of wood. And there's the barrel again, and you can see the plywood laid on the ground there. Let's see what this is. Now, I watched this movie. Here's another close-up view of this is exactly where the people were. No doubt about it, right there. This is where they were. Still smoking. You can see some of the drum towers. Well, they went too fast for us to really look. You can rewind. This is YouTube if you want. Let's see. I believe that some of these walls were pulled away because of necessity. Because obviously, look, they had to put lights up and stuff. That's what those orange cords are. This is what I find to be the most interesting, because you see that toolbox there? There was a closet there. And you see that thing on the floor that's pulled up? That's where the bodies were found. There was a closet there, and that's what Suzette always says was the chain door. You can see there's that piece of fence that was on top of the high tower, and that drum there is one of the drum towers from the top of the castle. And you could see that there's, total decimation. These orange cords are after the fact. They're for lighting. There's another drum tower. You can see that distinctive fence. Used to be high up on the high tower. You'll see that at the end of the video. Let me get a little bit closer more. Yeah, and here, they had to actually spray paint exit with an arrow to get to the front, because so many people were confused. They'd go out that back exit door and find themselves in the middle of trailers. Now, that's the blue side's roll barrel window. You notice there's 3 windows? Same thing on the red side. I don't know if they pulled them down in haste. That seems to be what they did. Or it was some kind of subterfuge. There's no way for me to know. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. But I know that's the way it was assembled. And yeah, you can see here that those were these are retired highway trailers. I don't know if I doubt that rubber burned away. Alright, here we go. Here's the facade. Now, mind you, look how good the facade held up. Once again, spray painted with stuff. There's the skull. Remember earlier I said that you could see the back of the skull? This held up fine. I mean, the Haunted Castle sign collapsed. The high tower collapsed because it melted. You can still see the sign that says Haunted Castle. The scrub pines, the 2 sentry guards, the moat. You can see their fence, and it's really interesting when you get a little bit farther on. You can see that there's pillars outside, and they're knocked over. I use this picture in my video, my original Haunted Castle video that I made years ago. So I always find that eerie. This is Haunted Castle. Now, I was in this just 6 days prior. We went there all the time. Not just once or twice. Now, there's those things. They were knocked down by the fire department in haste. I presume that's what... Even knocked over a trash can. I mean, it was bedlam, I heard, around this area. That's the red side's exit door. That door. And then when you scroll over, the sentry guard, and then there's the main door. You'd walk in and you'd go to either side, the red side or the blue side. And then... Oh, here's the Haunted Castle rules, and I like this one. Anyone who harms or hurts the actor will be prosecuted. That was the reason the Phantom fence was put up, because of that.
360?
Now, hear what he just said, 360? They're doing a panoramic view of the Haunted Castle's area. And I always find that very interesting, because they're trying to show its isolation. It's basically built in a pine forest. There's the Cinema 180. That building is still there, and what's next to it, to its immediate next door neighbor, is the all the rides are going. The next door neighbor was the picnic area, and then the Haunted Castle. And they're trying to depict, I imagine, and look how the colorful flags are pushing it back. It's not police tape from where the public can see. It's just like flags. And here's the haunted castle. And they're trying to show its isolation, and they're doing a good job, because it was very isolated. Now, here is the April Fool's Day fire drill. Fire happened May 11th, 1984. This is April 1st, 1984. Now, they're spraying the outside of the exterior with their hoses, and that's fine. This is amateur video. Nobody was a professional videographer back then. Camcorders were a new thing, but look how interesting this is. The fire department can barely get their trucks to the haunted castle. And every firefighter, I mean, I see names on the sides of the trucks and stuff from all the surrounding municipalities, are looking and are there, and they're spraying the outside. They should go inside. The place is a train wreck. Now look at all those the white pillars. They're still up, and look how isolated the castle is. It's just the same as it was as they filmed a few days later. And here they are. They're I think that in this scene they're pulling like a simulated victim out of there. But when the place was actually on fire, there was like 2 minutes or 3 minutes maybe that you could have done that. There's the white pillars again when they're standing upright, and you can see them. And the firefighters are walking in and out, and they're doing a little drill. It's very curious that they picked the haunted castle, probably the most unsafe place in the whole park, to do their, I don't know who this guy is, a firefighter. Obviously wanted this picture in the camera. But all the firemen were there, and nobody noticed one thing amiss. I noticed there was something wrong, and here's the angle again. You could see it's isolation. And this is, I believe, the new ladder truck, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. And here they are. Oh yeah, they're pulling out a simulated rescue. But when it actually was on fire, there was only... By the time they got there, they wouldn't have been able to do that. And you could see the twisting fence, the moat. There's so many barricades to get into the place. And there's the fire truck going in, can barely get to it. It just seems amazing. But this guy's lifting up the height. This is the ladder. And you'll notice the distinctive fence. Now you can scroll back to where I said, it's not the phantom fence, but there's a fence on the high tower that you'll see when they get up a little bit closer. Here, the man's walking up, and he's going to do a rescue, in quotes, from the high tower stage. I guess you can't see the fence that good there, but those drum towers there, they're just 55-gallon drums. But all that collapsed to the ground, and that's all that junk that you see by the door when in the burned section of the video. And I always find this to be really amazing. Why would they waste their time dragging a dummy down from there when no people went up there? That was a storage loft. That's where they kept their extra costumes and stuff, from what I understand. Not one customer went near there. All the dangers down below in the trailers. Combustibles, 4-inch thick polyurethane foam, barred ways to exits. Just unbelievable. But here they are, and this is what they're doing. And he's carrying a dummy out. The only dummies that walked out of that place on May 11th were some of these people. I can promise you that, because the people who were killed didn't. They were trapped, and they died the most horrifying death. Polyurethane foam gives off phosgene gas, which is a World War II chemical agent, and it hits the ground. And most people are taught to go to the ground. And Suzette, the survivor, told me that she knew she was going back towards the entrance, but all the rest of the people must have went the wrong way, because they were so disoriented with that gas. And she coughed up a bunch of congestion and black soot and stuff. And there's the rolling river. That's what it's called. They bought that in 1974 to when Great Adventure was built, Cassville. But anyway, that's it. That's the whole bag of tricks at the Haunted Castle.